Shannon Flockhart, welcome to the Running Effect podcast. I would say, how are you doing this afternoon? You're 5 hours ahead. How are you doing this evening?
Hi, yep, good. It's great to be on.
So you had a very long season and now you're on your break. What's that like? Is it weird, like the mindset shift of being like all in on racing and then being like, wow, I don't even have to run today?
Yeah, definitely. It's been a long time coming. So I did my first run back today actually. So it was nice to be back, but yeah, it was definitely a long year.
First run back, generally, do you feel absolutely horrible or super refreshed and ready to get after it?
Well, I actually felt better than I thought. I had a bit of a cold last week, so I think my body just shut down. It was really the right time, so I actually felt better than expected this morning. So that was good.
What are some of your favorite things to do when you're back home?
We have three dogs, so I love being with them. I really miss them a lot when I'm at school. And then my sister rides her horse, so I just like spending time with the animals and obviously my friends and just being with my family.
Obviously, you go to college at Providence, so you're in the States most of the year, I would say, with my limited knowledge. Is it weird when you come home and it's like you're squeezing in as much time as you can with family and friends while also being aware that you don't have too much of it?
Yeah, it definitely is. And especially now, university over here is only 3 years. So I've been in America for four. So most of my friends now, they're kind of in like big grown up jobs. So I like sometimes during the day, I'm like, oh, who can I go see? Oh, they're all at work. So it's just things like that. And like a lot of things change when you're away for 7, 8 months. So yeah, sometimes it's hard to fit back in, but I do. Every time I come home, by the end of it, I'm like ready to go back to school.
What's the so I know you were training in Providence and then you came back home, before racing the British champs. Do you get jet lag or are you pretty used to it at this point? What's the
It's
transfer
honestly not.
process like?
It's not that. It's not too bad. Like I can't say we can really complain. It's really not bad. Like it was. I think it was worse actually going to Oregon for NCAA's than coming back here. I really don't find it too bad. If anything, it's worse when we go back to school. When I go back in August, and then, it's only like 5, but I think it's 10 p.m. at night. That's like the harder way.
How far is because Providence is in Rhode Island, right?
Yeah.
How far is the flight from Providence to Eugene? That's the
I think it's like
exact
6 hours. It was 6
opposite.
hours. Yeah.
Is it
It's
direct
like
or
coming home.
layover?
We were direct. Yeah, we were direct. Yeah.
Okay.
Well, to Portland, and then we drove.
Nice.
Yeah.
What are the flight essentials for Shannon getting through a 6 hour flight?
Yeah, poor Ray. We had me and Kim either side of Ray. Um, what did I think I actually forgot my headphones and I just watched. I actually slept for like half the flight, so that was nice. And then I just watched. I can't even remember what did I watch. I watched Barbie actually on the way to NCAA's. Yeah.
Did it live up to the hype? I still haven't seen it.
I'd already watched it. It
Oh,
was
okay.
just kind of like I didn't know what else to pick. So yeah.
Sure.
Kim had her coloring book though, so I was kind of jealous.
On a 6 hour flight, how do you, obviously it depends the time of day, but whether it's, flying from somewhere like Rhode Island to Oregon or Rhode Island back home to the UK, what does training generally look like that day? And are you training normally or are you making sure to like buffer training earlier? How does that work?
Yeah, it's definitely. I think we had a pretty early flight out, so we didn't run before, and then we went on a shakeout once we arrived in Portland, because we stayed in Portland for the night. So yeah, it's just like just adjusts it, and like it's obviously a lot less than normal, and you can feel a bit crappy coming off the flight, but a shakeout in, and then you normally are good to go.
Are you the type of person that gets up like multiple times per flight to shake out the legs, like fake going to the bathroom, or do you just sit there and
No, not really. I probably should be, but I'm not. I kind of just sit there. I think also I'm so lucky that I'm quite short. My dad's 6'3", and so is my boyfriend. So I always notice on flights they're like complaining, and I'm like, what's the issue? So I think I probably should get up more though.
when you were a young kid, did you ever envision that this would be your reality, running for a college in the US?
Definitely not. No. Kind of the last 2, maybe year and a half of well, we call it sixth form high school, was when I kind of decided I wanted to go to America. But before that, definitely not. And for it to have worked out as well as it has, and I could never have imagined.
Take me back in time to your start in the sport of running. What were your first impressions of it?
Well, I think London 2012. I didn't. What did I? I watched the Paralympics actually, the Paralympic athletics, and that was like huge for me. Like just that stadium, like I'd never seen anything like it. And then I think um, it was kind of like a year or two after that was when I first joined an athletics club, um, and I think it just grew from there really. Just yeah, like London was definitely like I watched every single sport every day on the TV. Like it didn't matter sailing, rowing, whatever was on, I was just watching. Um, but then it was always athletics at school, like sports days and stuff. It was running that was I'm really bad at every other sport.
At what point did you flip the switch from merely participating in the sport to then being more dedicated and focused and seeing how far you could go within it?
Yeah, I definitely think probably it was quite late, honestly. I actually, if you go on, we have Power of 10, it's like where we have rankings for all the British athletes, and on my profile, I have like a PB for like shot put, javelin. So I really did a little bit of everything. And then I think probably when I was like 14, 15 was when I started taking it a bit more seriously. Um, but again, still, when I was younger, all I ever wanted was an England vest. So at our like English schools nationals, if you came in the top 8, you got to run again for England against Scotland, Ireland, and Wales. And like my closest was ninth. I came ninth one year, but that was all I wanted. So it was just like I was like I'm never gonna make it because there was these girls and they were just every single time I was never there. So yeah.
That ninth place finish, how did that motivate you, or was it more demotivating?
No, that was definitely a motivator because I was so close. So I think from that, I was like, okay, like you're getting closer. Just you just got to keep working, and yeah, it paid off in the end. But it was definitely sometimes it was hard to see like you think you're doing everything you can, and I was still kind of far away from what I wanted.
For you in high school, what were some of the most memorable moments? And at what point, you kind of alluded to this a minute ago, did you realize that, oh, running at the next level could be something that we could explore?
I came fourth one year at English schools. Sadly, that of course was the year when you were the last two age groups. You didn't get an England vest for that, and that was when I was like, okay, like I'm up there now, so I think this I can do this. And then I got selected for England, luckily in cross country, separate from schools, and raced in Spain, and that was just an amazing experience. Like first time competing abroad with the England team, with like there were seniors on the team, so it was just like okay, this like is something that I can actually do maybe.
What's the process like being recruited to a school in the U.S. and what was your kind of NCAA progress process like to get there?
Yeah, it's kind of so for Providence I honestly recruited myself, but in general it was like you just get these Instagram DMs, you get all these emails, and it's like it was kind of overwhelming because I didn't know too much about it. So and America is such a big place, you don't really know where to start. I was very lucky. My club here had a lot of guys from our club went to Missouri or Tulsa, so we had a few connections there. So I started kind of with those coaches. I actually went on a visit to Missouri as well as Providence. But Providence, I found myself. I got really. I should have been more paying attention at school, but I got really into like researching America, and Providence just kept standing out to me for its success with like professionals post college. So I reached out to Ray, and he actually phoned me back 5 minutes after I sent the email. But because it was an American number, I didn't answer the phone, and I was like, "Who on earth is this?" But he sent me an email, and then we just kind of went from there. So he says I was easy to recruit. I take pride in that.
What made Providence to you stand out from all the other schools that you looked at? And also, is there like a path in the UK that you explored of, I'm not sure how the collegiate system works there, but potentially staying home?
Yeah, honestly, once I had America in my head, I wasn't staying here. You couldn't really compare like going to a new country, having all these opportunities. I think since I left, so 4 years ago, in the last 4 years, the UK universities have grown a lot, and they've become a lot better and more successful in well, actually, everyone is going to disagree with me. There's kind of a stigma in this country that you go to America, you race every weekend, you're burnt out, like it's just the worst thing you could possibly do. So hopefully people are starting to realize that isn't always the case, and it very much depends on, where you end up. So I think Providence for me, it was just, number one, I liked it was small. And I kind of didn't know too much about America, and the East Coast felt very similar to home and very much somewhere that wouldn't be too much of a transition. And then just, Ray and the coaches there, I just got on with them.
So you ultimately end up going to Providence. What was the first week like in the US, and how much of a culture shock was Rhode Island compared to the UK?
Yeah, so my freshman year was COVID. So we arrived, we had to wear masks. Tim, one of the coaches, picked us up, me and this girl from Ireland, Laura, and we went straight into quarantine. So we were we couldn't leave our room for the week. And it was like 32 degrees every day. And it was like, what on earth is going on, really? We got meals delivered to our door, and that's just like, we didn't see anything of Ray or the coaches for those first kind of week and a half. And then anyone that knows Laura will know that her being cooped up in a room was the worst thing ever. Laura would run up and down our apartment stairs and it was just like, I was so confused as to what was going on. And then kind of 2 weeks in, Ray got permission from the school. We were allowed to run, but only on the track. So he would come and collect us from our dorm room, walk us to the track, and we would run like 6-7 miles around the track with a mask on, actually, at first. So yeah, it was kind of a crazy experience looking back. It's like, what was even going on? But I was just happy to be in America because I only got my visa, I think, maybe a week before my flight. So I didn't think I was going to be able to come, but we got there. So yeah, it was definitely a very different experience. I don't think we had practice the whole first semester, like official practice. And Ray had us doing time trials, actually, like just amongst the girls. So it was very odd.
I'm sure the UK had their own restrictions, but did you ever consider going back during that time period, or was that discouraging at all to be like, well,
no,
first I can't run, and then secondly, I don't want to run every day on a track?
Well, it got better quite fast, I feel, and then like classes were online, but I still love being there. And I actually, that first Christmas, I was so worried that I wouldn't be able to get back into the country. I stayed at school, so I didn't go home for my whole first year. So I think that just says a lot about how much Providence means to me.
For you, how many more years of eligibility do you have?
One full year. Luckily, so we had COVID, cross and indoors, and then I could have raced outdoors, but I was in no place to race then. So Ray was like, let's just save it. So
one more year. It sounds like you're absolutely in love with Providence. Obviously, a lot can happen in this last year, but what's your general mindset on, post-college plans? Do you want to stay there? Do you want to look somewhere else? And what's kind of the process there?
I'm not really sure. Post-Providence is kind of scaring me a little bit. Still kind of figuring out what that looks like. But I'm just going to make the most of this last year and see what happens. But I think I want to stay based kind of in America if that is possible. So we'll see how that plays out.
At what point in your collegiate journey, we went through kind of that first year of being at Providence, did you start to pick up some steam and see momentum in your training and results?
My first cross season was okay, like nothing special, and same with indoors. But then outdoors, I still, looking back, don't actually know how I managed to get to NCAA's, the final. I think that was very much like purely just I had no idea what was going on, which was actually the best thing for me. That was definitely where it took off, looking back.
I think Providence, the program has really, there are obviously examples of success over the years, but I feel like of recent years, you guys have really started to come out of the woodwork, and so many amazing athletes have come from the program. What's it been like to be a part of that progression of the program and see the work behind the scenes that's going into making the program one of the top in the country, specifically in your event, the 1500?
Yeah, it's been really cool to be like a part of the resurgence. I think we did kind of struggle for a few years there, like my freshman year as well. We hadn't qualified for cross country nationals in a few years, and like Ray was there for 40 years straight before this, so it was kind of like, oh, like what's going on? So it's been really cool to be a part of like the kind of regrowth, and yeah, especially the 1500. And with Alex coming in as well, I'm really excited for this year.
Let's talk about the point where you go from like someone who makes NCAAs to then someone who's talked about as someone who can win titles. What do you think went into that progression and just success overall? What was it like behind the scenes?
It's just consistency, I think, and the NCAA has been so good in that I think I know how to race now, which is another reason I wanted to go, because oftentimes people are just thrown into these fast races all the time, but then it comes to a championship and it's like, what they don't really know what to do. But I think the NCAA's, there's so many chances to practice, that championship racing, and you have to be able to be good at it to get to where you want to be. So I think it's just the consistency in training, but then also the exposure to such high level. Like the girls we're running against, it's actually crazy how like fast everyone's running this year. So yeah.
What was it like? I want to get your take on this. Probably racing against Maya Ramsten before she came Maya Ramsten. What was that like, and what's it been like to see her success? I mean, when she won that 15
Yeah.
in Austin, I think people were like, it's a fluke. Where did this girl come
Yeah.
from? And then the past year, it's just been absolutely remarkable.
No, yeah. Yeah. No, it's been incredible. She's such a lovely person as well, so it just makes it really special. And I feel like slightly closer to her than maybe I would, because obviously Kim and Maya are both from New Zealand, and with her being in Boston, we're quite close geographically. So yeah, it's been very cool to see just her progression, and I can't wait to see what she does in Paris. At the same time, there is an element like you get fleeting moments, because our first NCAAs, I actually beat her, and then obviously you go on to watch Maya. She won now 3 titles, so sometimes that is in the back of your head, like she's done all of this. But at the end of the day, like she's Maya, and we're all on our own journey, and I think that's what makes this sport so hard, but also so special.
I think she's an example of, how much better you can get in 1 year, and how just one race can give you the momentum you need in training to continue racing at such a high level and, raise the barrier within that. I think your last year, as we'll get into, is also an example of that. I feel like you've progressed so much in this past year. Could you speak to the listener on just, if you dedicate yourself to something, whether it's the sport of running or something else, you will see the results?
Yeah, definitely. I think like everything takes hard work, but if you just stick at it and you keep working hard and you keep that supportive base around you, then anything is possible, really. And I think we keep showing that at Providence. So I think it's just really exciting, and running is such a good example of just hard work pays off, because it really does in the end.
Let's talk about this last year. What do you think has contributed to your recent success in the sport?
I get to train with Kimberly May, like one of the best runners in the country. So that's definitely a big thing. I think just seeing what she's achieved and having her there every single day, it just only makes both of us better. And as well, I feel like the whole team has just elevated themselves to a new level. So it's really exciting, like going to practice every day and just having that great group of girls like all wanting the same things.
What are workouts like, or just like everyday runs with Kimberly? How much are you guys pushing each other and like trying to outdo one another, or is it mostly pretty calm and cross the line together?
Well, it's actually, people don't believe me when I say this, but we actually don't work out together all the time. If it's like more of a speed-based session, we'll do it together. If it's longer, I actually can't keep up with her. She just puts me in the box. So Ray, he tried in cross country last season, but it was just like negatively impacting my races and stuff. So sometimes we'll still go together sometimes, but quite often for the longer reps, she's by herself. She's just a different girl when she's on the track in longer reps. But yeah, when we're together and doing speed, it's like sometimes it's competitive, but always in a good way. it's never, and like we never like overtake in the last bit or anything like that. It's just like I've seen comments and it's like, oh, they must kill each other every day in training, and it's like nothing like that. So yeah, if anything, she's killing me in a tempo. So yeah.
For you guys, as fourth and fifth years in the program, and you have all this experience from your years at Providence and in the NCAA, what's that kind of leadership process like? Kind of trying to bring the other girls up to speed, or even an incoming freshman of just like, hey, you can get here one day as well. You just got to work for 3 or 4 years. It's not going to come right away.
Yeah, no, it's definitely exciting, and it's kind of a pressure, but it's okay. It's a good pressure. I'm glad that I have Kim like with me as sort of kind of a leader, and we have such talented girls like already, and then coming in this year, so I think it's going to be great for them like to hopefully learn from us, and then especially in cross country, it's going to be a really important year for us. So hopefully we can kind of show everyone what's possible.
We've talked about your results, Kimberly's results, Maya's results. I think the NCAA Women's 15/mile, if we're talking indoors, like perhaps the most stacked event in all of the NCAA. It is absolutely ridiculous, the times that are being run. What's it like to be a part of it and, see someone like Maya? I could be wrong on this, but she ran something like 4:21 at Milrose or on a DMR split. I know Olivia Markozic also ran some ridiculous DMR split. I feel like I saw all throughout the season someone running like mid 420s. What's it like to be a part of this?
Yeah, I always tell Kim, I'm like, Kim, you started this, because when she ran 4:27, then that was like kind of the first of the season, and then Chloe went on to run like 4:28, Flamina 4:25, I think, and then Maya. So it was just kind of like a ripple effect, and it's like just shows how like much the level of the NCAA has risen. I think like the number of like top 20 all-time times that have been run this year, like I think we've just completely like rewritten all of the books. So yeah, it's really special to be a part of. I kind of joked on my Instagram, I was like, can we just not get any faster again next year, please? Because it's like we're really getting down to that sub 4, like Maggie going 4:02 at US trials, Claudia 4:01, like we're kind of pushing that 4-minute barrier. So next year is definitely going to be a big year.
How often do you wish that you were in the NCAA 10 years ago? You would have won every single title. Or are you grateful to be in the modern day era?
Sometimes that thought does creep into your head. You're like kind of like, I think we often notice it like qualifying for regionals. Like we're like, it's 4:20, but we're like, one day it's going to be, it's going to be 4:15. It just is. And like, especially qualifying for indoors, I remember my freshman year, I ran 4:36 in the mile, and Ray was like, there's like a possibility you could make it. And now if you're not running 4:30, you're not going. So it's scary, but it's really fun to be a part of. And I think it just only makes you better. So yeah.
As you look ahead to this final year and, see some returning faces, some new people, and also like the possibility of some no-name getting really, really good, what do you think it's going to take to win one of these titles? I know you're a 3-time first-team All-American in the women's 15. You have so much experience, potentially lining up next year in Eugene with the most experience. As someone, I'm sure, you train and believe that you can win one. What do you think it's going to take to win one? And ultimately, what would it mean to go out with a bang in your NCAA career winning one?
That would be like that would be the fairy tale ending. Yeah, that would be really special. I think, yeah, it's not going to be easy at all. Like I said, like we've got like I don't even want to know how many at this point, like sub 405 girls coming back. I think hopefully the experience will come into play, and just at the end of the day, only one person can win. So it is tough, but that would be a dream ending.
I think historically in the women's 15, it's a lot of times tactical and moves aren't made till like 100 to go, 150 to go, sometimes 50 to go. I think Maya's changed that a little bit, just goes out with like 600 to go and just runs some ridiculous split. What's kind of your take on how tactics have changed as people have gotten faster?
Yeah, Maya, I think she ran 28 for like that 600 before the bell, which is just ridiculous. So I think I used to think that I preferred kind of sit and kick, but after this year, I think it's like a kind of a slower wind up that I actually prefer. But I think just with like Maya being so strong and she can just front run a 4:05, and then again Kim, like that's just how she runs. So I think you just kind of have to roll with whatever's going. But I still definitely, my biggest hate is when it goes just from the gun, it goes fast. There's something like mental that I'm like, no, I can't go with this, but I have to tell myself that I can.
In June, you signed a NIL deal with New Balance. Kimberly also did, if I'm not mistaken. What was that process like? And, I have to ask how much talking between you two was going on. Very similar timing.
Oh, yeah. That was, well, like, it kind of started being a conversation around indoors. And it was kind of always, like, together. Like, it wasn't, like, two separate things. It was, like, just, like, a joint thing that Ray was speaking to us about. So yeah, that was cool because we didn't really see, like, no one else really had like a duo kind of, so that was cool. And now it's actually become a trio because I think, well, actually I don't know if Alex has an NIL, but because she's been with New Balance in the past, so it's funny how it's worked out.
What does it mean to you to ultimately be signed to a company and represent a company in college, and how exciting is that just for the future in the next year in the NCAA of being supported by New Balance and being a part of that family who's running out of their mind in every single event group?
Yeah, I can really believe it. Like when it first became like a conversation, it was like very surreal. And like I remember when we got our first kit drop, it was like the best day of our lives. There was just so much stuff. And we went to like the New Balance headquarters, and it was, yeah, it did not, we walked in and there was a big like sign with our faces in the middle of New Balance and the track and stuff. So it's just been very surreal, the whole experience, but I'm so grateful. And it's also funny because a lot of New Balance, the people that work there are ex-Providence athletes. Like half of New Balance is Friars, so that makes it extra special, I think, just to have that connection.
Going into the last year of your NCAA career, what are some things you're looking to accomplish?
I want to win a title. I think that'd be a nice way to go out. And I know it's something I'm capable of, so it just, we just gotta keep working for it. But the biggest thing, I think that's like, that can be put aside for now. Like the biggest thing this season is cross country. We have such a great opportunity to do a really big thing this cross country season. So I think, and I really want to be All American in cross country. That has eluded me so far. So that's a big goal this season.
For those who have listened to our conversation and look up to you and your progression and all the things you've accomplished in the sport, what would be a message to them in terms of, how do they get to your position one day?
I'm still not used to the fact that people might look up to me, but I think at the end, like, the main thing, and I need to follow this advice myself, but you have to believe it. If you don't believe it, then it's really, really hard. And people can believe in you, but unless you believe in yourself, then it's kind of pointless, because when you're on that start line, you're the one who can really control what happens. Like everyone else, they can will you on, but at the end of the day, it's you that's running the race and it's you that's in control. And you can do all the training, you can be the fittest you've ever been, but if you don't believe and put the faith in yourself and put yourself out there, then it's not going to happen. So I'd say that.
Yeah, such a good message. Shannon, one final question for you. The question I ask every single guest on every single podcast. If you had Gordon Ramsay coming over to your house for dinner, fellow Brit, what would you choose to make for him?
I actually know you asked this question, and I'm an awful cook. So I was going to say that we would send him to Providence Dining Hall. It's called Ray Dining Hall, and see what he thinks.
What's the go-to post-practice meal? Is it good food or no?
Orange chicken. Well, okay, so when I first came, it was really bad, but it actually it went through renovations, and it's actually not too bad now. I don't know if it would be Gordon Ramsay level, but there's an orange chicken they make, and it's really yummy. So
how's Gordon Ramsay, I only asked that question, I think, historically, because I asked it on one of my first podcasts, and I think I got a good response, and I was like, oh, let's just roll with it. But yeah, he's talked about in the US, but not like a ton, and I know he's from England, so I don't even know if people in your circle talk about him in the US or in Britain. But what's the conversation like in the US about him compared to like in Britain where he's from?
I feel like, honestly, now, like, there's not too much conversation about him, maybe. I think, is his daughter dating Adam Peaty, one of our Olympic swimmers? I don't know if I've got that really wrong.
I
But
don't
like
know.
that is more of the conversation.
I follow him, but not
I might
that
be really
closely.
I follow the swimmer, so I think I've seen. I might be really wrong, but I think his daughter dates Adam Peaty, one of our like Olympic swimmers. So it's kind of like more focused on her rather than him, maybe.
Gotcha. I mean, he's also been doing
Yeah.
stuff for so long. Maybe he's like
Yeah,
creeping out
yeah,
of irrelevance. But what
yeah.
I think most people don't know is he's run 10 marathons, I think. So he's
Oh,
actually,
really?
yeah, he's a
Yeah, I
runner
didn't know
himself, which is
Okay.
also part of the reason I asked the question. But like, no one knows that. I'm waiting for one of these days for someone to be like, who? But that hasn't happened
Yeah,
yet, which is how I know I'm actually kind of surprised that hasn't happened yet.
yeah,
But,
yeah.
so anyways, Shannon, really appreciate the conversation. Keep crushing it. And I really look forward to seeing all the things you'll accomplish in the year to come.
Thank you for having me.